Hello students, I hope you all are doing well. Now today we'll start up with a new lesson in geography, that is conservation of forest and wildlife in India. So let's begin. When we look around, we find different types of plants and animals. India is one of the world's richest countries in terms of different varieties of biodiversity and has around 8% of world's total number of species. The environment around is divided into flora and fauna. Flora is the plant life occurring in a particular region or time, and fauna is all of the animal life of any particular region or time. But according to an estimate, around 10% of India's flora and 20% of its fauna are on the threatened list because of expansion of agriculture, commercial and scientific forestry and mining activities, and also because of habitat destruction, hunting, poaching, forest fires and overpopulation. Now, as the forest and wildlife are vital to the quality of life and environment, therefore it becomes very important to preserve both flora and fauna. As the heading of the lesson says, conservation of forest and wildlife in India, let's see what does conservation means. Now, conservation has been defined as the protection and preservation of natural resources and the environment. The main aims of conservation are to conserve a range of different habitats so that they are not lost as a result of pressures from human populations. It also encourages biodiversity in a range of habitats. To protect the wildlife, the board created several national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, and biosphere reserves. According to the current scenario, the Government of India has established 103 national parks and 554 wildlife sanctuaries and 18 biosphere reserves to protect the wildlife. The Government of India imposed a national ban on tiger hunting, and in 1972, the Wildlife Protection Act was implemented to protect and conserve the wildlife. So we'll start up with wildlife sanctuaries. Now, wildlife is a national resource that is helpful in maintaining ecological balance. Now, with the expansion of agriculture and industrial activities, the number of wild animals has decreased in our country. Now, some of the species have even become extinct, while others are on the verge of extinction. Now, animals are also killed for their meat, bones, fur, hair, skin. Therefore, the need for wildlife conservation becomes a necessity. Hence, wildlife sanctuaries have been established. Now, a wildlife sanctuary is a protected area that is reserved for conservation only of wildlife and human activities where harvesting or collection of minor forest product is allowed. Next, let's see some of the examples of wildlife sanctuaries in our country. Periyar in Kerala, Ranipur in Uttar Pradesh, Chilka Lake in Orissa, and Sariska in Rajasthan. Next, we'll study what does a national park means. A national park is an area which is strictly reserved for the betterment of the wildlife and where human activities like lumbering, agriculture are strictly banned. Now, lumbering is systematically cutting and felling of the trees. Now, the examples of national parks are Jim Corbett, which is found in Uttaranchal and it is the first national park of India. Next one is Sundarbans in West Bengal. Next is Dudhwa in Uttar Pradesh and Tadoba in Maharashtra. Next, we'll study about the biosphere reserves. Now, these are protected areas that have been established to preserve genetic diversities and promote research on ecological conservations. Now, some of the biosphere reserves are Nilgiri, Nanda Devi, Manas. Next, we'll study about Project Tiger. Now, in 1973, the Indian Wildlife Authorities realized that the tiger population came down, and the major threats of tiger population are poaching and hunting, growing human interference in forest, shrinking habitat, etc. Moreover, the trade of tiger skins and use of its bones in various traditional medicines led the tiger population to extinction. Now, keeping all these aspects in mind, Project Tiger, one of the well publicized wildlife campaign, was launched in 1973. Now, this project showed success as tiger population rose. Tiger conservation is viewed not only as an effort to save tiger, but also as a means of preserving biotypes of sizable magnitude. A few examples of tiger reserves of India are Corbett National Park in Uttarakhand, Sundarbans in West Bengal, Manas Tiger Reserve in Assam, Periyar Tiger Reserve in Kerala, and Bandhavgarh National Park in Madhya Pradesh. Next, we'll study about how to conserve the forests. Now, the forests have declined due to overexploitation by humans to satisfy their needs, and hence some of the steps have been undertaken to conserve the forests. So, let's study them one by one. The first point is afforestation. Now, trees should be planted on degraded lands and lands unfit for agriculture. In order to decrease pollution, trees should be planted around industrial towns and cities. Next point is check reckless cutting of trees. Now, indiscriminate felling of trees should be strictly banned. Proper replacement of trees by reforestation should be undertaken. Then next one is social forestry. Now, social forestry consists of joint management of forest by people and government. It helps in satisfying the needs, wants and aspiration of both the people and the government. Next one is agroforestry. It refers to a system of managing a piece of land in which both agricultural crops and forest crops are grown. Its aim is to conserve land and to achieve a combined produce of forest and agricultural crops. And the last point is use of alternate source of energy. Now, in some parts, trees are felled for providing firewood. Therefore, alternate sources of energy like solar power, biogas should be used. Next, we'll study about National Forest Policy. Now, the Government of India in 1952 adopted a forest policy in order to conserve and expand forest reserves. Now, this policy was further modified, and the main objectives of this policy are checking soil erosion and denudation in the catchment areas of rivers, lakes, and reservoirs. Next is checking the extension of sand dunes, conserving the forests as natural heritage, and increasing the forest or the tree cover by afforestation and reforestation, and creating a massive people's movement and involving women in these movements. With this, we come to an end of our lesson. I hope you all have understood it well. Kindly refer to the video again for a better understanding. I'll be sending you the question answers and exercises. Question answers to be done in the notebook and exercises to be done in the textbook. So stay safe, stay healthy, and have a nice day. Thank you.